Hey Strat fans, it's me, Colonel Strat, your strategy extraordinaire here, and today I'm back at Warhammer 3. I know it's been a while since I've been here. I'm feeling good to be back. My posting schedule's kind of gotten a little convoluted. I'm trying to get it together. Anyhow, today, I know I'm late on this. I saw the update for Shadows of Change. We all know Shadows of Change. It was a big disappointment for a lot of us, I feel, and it also overpriced for what it had compared to DLCs in Warhammer's past. It was a little lackluster in my opinion, but this update I feel breathes a lot of life into it. I'm going to show you my interpretation of it and my favorite tactics and how I like to use the new units. At the end of this video, I will show you, at least in my opinion, who was the biggest winner from this update, who got the most love. Overall, what my opinion is of it. Also, if you like the channel, feel free to subscribe down below, leave a comment as well. I respond to all comments when I can. Without further ado, let's get into it, Strat fans. Alright, so for Tzeentch, the new units are these Centaurs of Tzeentch and the awesome Changebringers of Tzeentch. These units don't seem like they're that good of an option, at least the Centaurs don't. The Changebringers, even though they seem simple with just flamers on a disc of Tzeentch, they're really good. The added mobility makes them infinitely better than regular flamers because they're flying, so they can get around the battlefield a lot faster and get over things and get better angles, so you're able to get them to better places. The Exalted Hero of Tzeentch is a nice melee combatant to help out, plus I love his unit model with the 3 heads. He's really cool looking. Look at him. A little ugly too. Anywho, Chaos Lord of Tzeentch that's added. He's really good for melee troops, for buffing up melee troops. Him and the Chaos and the Exalted Hero of Tzeentch are really good for buffing up the main line, and they help out the main line a lot. So as we'll see in the battle here, keeping the main line buffed up and helped with this Lord and Hero is going to be essential to winning the battle. Before this, Tzeentch suffered a lot in the melee department. This update added a lot more melee help to Tzeentch. I do like that addition. So we're going to go up against some Imperial Greatswords. Got to make sure that we get our guys there first before we attack, because missiles are not our friends, not Tzeentch's friends at all. We got them all lined up. Okay, now I'm going to send the Centaurs around here to do some damage. The Changebringers will send up. Exalted Hero, Lord of Tzeentch, the Exalted Hero going to go in here. Oh, we do have the great swords right there too. And we're going to send these guys, the Changebringers, to attack the crossbowmen. The Lord of Tzeentch has the Change or Die, which is a really good damage resistance buff, and also Colossal Strike, which does a decent amount of weapon damage buff. The Exalted Hero of Tzeentch has the same Colossal Strike, does a lot for helping out the melee line, so it helps out quite a bit, I gotta say. Come on, fire at the crossbowmen. That's where we're trying to fire. Go at the crossbowmen. There you go. There you go. You did some damage to them. There you go. Because they're the ones that are hitting you, stupid Changebringers. Let's get these Centaurs of Tzeentch over here so they can get them at the flank, if they can make it in time. Oh boy, like I said, you gotta try to hover, because you're gonna hit your own guys if you don't. But they have a lot more space to hit people with the discs of Tzeentch. Like, look at that. They're able to hit so much more and fire up and over certain guys. We're still hitting our own guys here too. If we can get a better angle, you can hover over them and blast them with flames like this. It's doing a lot of damage, but it's also damaging our guys quite a bit too. Let's do Change or Die, increase our damage resistance. And there we go. That pretty much wraps it up. Oh. The slaughter. So again, the Tzeentch forces, I don't think got that big of a buff. The Changebringers are a nice addition because of the mobility. They're not that unique of a unit, but the mobility makes them a really good upgrade for flamers. Centaurs, I could honestly pass on, but they are pretty good for what they have. They're really good at speed. They have 92 speed, so getting around enemy formations is what they specialize at. And of course, the highlight was the new Lord and Exalted Hero, which are really good at buffing up your units, engaging enemy heroes and big units in melee to help your main line out. So that's Tzeentch. Now let's dive into Cathay to see what they have new. Alright, and here we are with Cathay. The Cathayans don't have as many additions as Tzeentch. They do have Zaytang, the Watcher. He is a insane construct. Now the construct is a new rule that the Cathayan Sentinels and the Terracottas get, pretty much like the Tomb King's construct rules, where if they rout, they crumble. There's a little bit of good and bad there with that rule, but Zaytang, having the new construct rule, can give his constructs and all these terracotta sentinels around him, 15% physical resist to them and more leadership. Pretty much going to keep them alive and give them more physical resist. Now, we do have the Great Moonbirds. They're kind of like Arcane Phoenixes, but for Cathay. And then we have the Celestial Lions, which are pretty much like Griffins for Cathay, and they're pretty good. They have a good melee attack. The Moonbirds have flaming and magical attacks, but the Celestial Lions have more armor piercing, so I feel like they're probably better than the Great Moonbirds. But then again, the Great Moonbirds are a higher tier. I just don't see them doing as much damage as the Celestial Lion. The Great Moonbirds do have more of a health pool though. We're going to go up against a Xingqian force here, and I'm going to show you just how it is. Alright, let's move out. Celestial General, he just keeps yapping. He does have a speech mouth, but come on guys, we don't want to hear that. Alright, Zaytang. He's got a pretty good missile attack as well. I'm going to show you this against the spawn of Tzeentch over here. Alright, look at that. Ooh, that's a nice effect. Oh yeah. Ooh, oh my lord, that was a good attack too. Oh boy, did do that much damage, but completely wiped their shield. And then he does his basic ranged attack with his bow, and he just charges it up and fires it like that. Does a nice amount. That did a pretty good amount against him, I'd say. Alright, we might have to move a little closer. That's okay. Just a tad bit closer so we can start firing with our bows. And he also has this ability called Watched by the Watcher, which means any enemies within the effect range, if they do have like a hidden effect, like if they can be hidden somewhere, they'll be revealed no matter where they are. So that's really good for keeping eyes on the army. I've never seen an anti-stealth option before. That helps. Look, see, now they have to be revealed. They can't be hidden anymore. They have woodsmen so they could hide in the woods, but they can't with Zaytang here. We'll have him attack the spawn. And then, of course, Great Moonbird, good for having this moon flare hover around, creates a spinning vortex. Send in the Celestial Lions, send in the Terracotta Sentinels. The Great Moonbirds, we're going to hold them so we can go take care of these other guys here, because I'm going to show you their special attack. Let's take care of these guys with the general. Alright, get them. There we go. That's a little vortex, but he can't move while it's going on. And it's like a static vortex. Doing pretty good. Ooh boy. Doesn't do that much damage against him though, I gotta say. He takes very little damage against them. Yeah, having Zaytang is gonna help a lot. I think we can use it against him. Let's see how it does against a single target. I don't think it does as much damage. It's strong versus multiple targets, not a single target. But, I mean, it still does a decent amount. It's a decent chunk. Adding the physical resist helps a lot, but against Tzeentch, that's not going to help that much. Let's get the blue horrors down. Ooh, the wind bow does do a lot of damage against him too. Even though we don't do as much damage with the other stuff, the moon bow does do a lot. And the moonbirds do a lot of damage as well. They're doing pretty good in the melee here. Of course, that is also because those guys are blue horrors, so they're not really meant for it. Oh, he just sniped him. Zaytang is the sniper. He just looks gorgeous too. I just love his model. He does really well. Like, that explosion is insane. And that's pretty much Cathay. Again, they didn't really get that many game-changing additions, but I do love their additions. Zaytang is an absolute unit. What he does to Terracotta Sentinels brings them out of the darkness where they were, where I felt like nobody really used them. The Celestial Lions are a great addition, especially as a mount option for the Celestial General, because it makes him infinitely better. The Great Moonbirds are a decent option for flanking and dealing with physical resist enemies, or getting in the back line. They do really good damage. They're a decent tier 4 unit. I wouldn't knock them. Now that we've shown Cathay, let's move on to who I think got the most out of this little update, Kislev. Alright, here we are with Kislev. Now Kislev, I feel like I said before, they got the best additions. For the first addition that I liked was the addition of the Kislevite Warriors for a nice tier 1 dedicated infantry unit. When you're playing Mother of Stankia, you don't really get a lot of help in the early time because you have to worry about Dark Elves with nothing but Forest Beasts. You don't get access to the tier 2 armored Cassars yet, and you have to rely on Cassars and Forest Beasts. I think it just doesn't do that good. But this way, having the Kislevite Warriors, which are a dedicated tier 1 unit, halberd infantry, they have a decent armor-piercing weapon damage of 20 with a 15 bonus versus large. Charge Reflection, which is something I've never seen in a tier 1 unit before. By Our Blood, which is Kislev's great passive. They do have Woodsmen, which means they can pass through trees without a problem. And also Charge Defense versus large, which means any large unit will get their charge bonus negated when they attack them. So they're a decent melee combatant that can do well in melee combat against other units of its type, but against monsters, it does really good. And you can actually, I sometimes take these guys rise into tier 2 or even 3 alongside armored Cassars. They're a nice non-hybrid unit for Kislev. If you've noticed, this army is full of non-hybrid units. Well, besides the hero and the lord. The Frostworm, I was so happy when I saw that CA added this unit because Frostworm just looks awesome. And also, it does pretty well in combat, as you'll see later. We also have the Golden Knight over here. She is insane. She's got Glorious Charge, which means her charge bonus is doubled. She also has Urson's Claw, which increases her attack. She's the Tsarina's Guardian, which means she's immune to flanking, has bonus physical resist. The more damage she takes, the more her men are bolstered by her, meaning they get more melee attack and leadership. And then the Tome of Ursus negates any magical weapons in the area. So that means if she's facing an enemy that has a lot of magical damage, you can negate that entirely with her. So you can run some big ass physical resist builds with her and do really well. Finally, the Druzina is a nice lord option that they added. I love his addition. His look, really royal, and he's got arrow ability, some restock. He does really well against other forces. He fills the role nicely. He also has this ability, immune to flanking. No penalties when he gets flanked. Really good to have, but that's mostly because the Tsarina Golden Knight here has this, the Lady's Guardian, or Tsarina's Guardian, which is a ward save for an area of effect. So all these guys are immune to flanking in her area. So we're going to gauge these Dark Elves here. Frostworm is pretty fast. We also have the Lore of Hags, which I think is a decent spell lore. It's not like the Lore of Shadows level, but it is still worthy of being a good spell lore, and I don't think you should knock it. Got some decent spells, and also the hexes can be turned into blessings when you overcast them, which is a neat mechanic I like. Like this increases spell mastery, but the hex itself, the direct damage, applies silenced effect and does a lot of damage against regular units. So I think it does pretty good. Like, look at that. And it's a nice graphical effect they have too. I like it. Does a good amount of damage, nice graphical effect. And then this is a breath that replenishes hit points of combatants if you attack it. So you got to make sure that when you use it, you use the curse, not the one that replenishes hit points. So it's a little weird, but got to do that. Go in there. Let's fire at these guys with Tal's arrow. There we go. Boom. Alright, and the Hag Witch. Let's do some of the potion here. Brew, the Rich Brew. There we go, that does a good amount of damage. The Frostworm does a lot of damage too, I gotta say. He does an insane amount of damage. I forgot he was out there. I love that they do so much. Plus, they're all being affected by her passive now, too, which increases their melee attack and their leadership. You can also replenish some ammo, which is great to have, especially with the Akshina Ambushers now. It creates a nice synergy between the two. If you want Akshina Ambushers or any nice missile unit for Kislev, you want to have a Druzina as the leader, if not a Legendary Lord, because it's just going to do so well. And then that Frostworm does a lot of damage there too, but he's taking a lot of damage because he's got bonus versus large enemies in his wake. That's why they took him out. There we go. He'll come back too. It's just because the bonus versus large. I think that Kislev, because they got so much out of it, that they've been lifted above where they used to be. I like their additions that well, because I just think that they add so much to it. The Frostworm adds so much versatility to it. The added addition of the Kislevite Warriors means that for tier 1, you have something to recruit. As long as you're not playing like Katarin, even Kostelton probably get access to armored Cassars, but especially if you're playing Mother Ostankia, the addition of the Kislevite Warriors is a godsend. It helps a lot. That way you don't have to deal with having an army full of beasts. But the Frostworm, excellent addition. I love it. I love the Lore of Hags. It's really nice. The addition of the Golden Knight, she's really powerful too. And the Druzina, he's a really good buffer hero. He's also pretty decent with a bow and has a good amount of armor piercing with his hammer. So I feel like Kislev all around was the winner of the update. I love it that much. Alright, so my final verdict is that Kislev got the biggest amount of love from this update. Some of you guys might disagree. Some of you might agree with me. Leave it down in the comments. Let me know what you think. I think that Kislev got the most because the addition of their Kislevite Warriors means that for Mother Ostankia in particular, you don't have to deal with a lot of annoyances of dealing with forest creatures. Even though the spiders are a decent forest creature to start with, I feel like having that dedicated melee line is going to help you in the long run. Plus, they do pretty well for a tier 1 unit, so they're still nothing to shrink at. The addition of Frostworm, I love it. I love the animation of it. It's really stylized. Even though it might not make canonical sense in Kislev, but I love it. It's really fun to play with. For Cathay, the addition of Zaytang, he really brings the Sentinels up. The Moonbird and the Celestial Lion are decent monsters as well. They do really well. For Zinch, he just got a lot of melee help, but his Changebringers are really good at getting around the enemy, getting a lot of mobility, and getting her arcs over so they can do the maximum amount of damage. But for Kislev, I think the addition of all those units plus the Golden Knight and the Drazina, as well as the Lore of Hags edition, just means that they got the most amount. And I love it. I love to see it. That was my overview of this little update. Again, if you guys want to see more, remember to hit that sub button, chuck me a like on this video so the algorithm helps me. Anyway, Strat fans, until next time, remember, as always, to keep it strategic. Colonel out.